Many years ago, in the heart of Lagos, where the streets buzzed with life and the air pulsed with the scent of roasted plantains and bubbling traffic, an 8-year-old girl named Kike Lomo lived with her parents in a small but beautiful 2-bedroom apartment. Kike Lomo wasn't just any child. She was exceptionally bright, lively, and remarkably observant. She loved reading folktale stories and could solve math problems with a precision that amazed even her teachers. But there was another side of Kike brought by the sorrows hidden behind her infectious laughter. The cause of Kike's sorrow was because most of the times she got home from school, her father would call her to the room, lay down beside her on the bed, undress her, and proceed to molest her. Kike Lomo, with her small but tender body, would watch, her eyes brimming with tears she couldn't hold back. She would weakly struggle with her father and tell him, "Daddy, please stop. You are too heavy for me to carry and you are hurting me. Moreover, Mommy said she's the only one that can touch my body. Daddy, please stop. You are hurting me." But her voice always cracked with the weight of the feelings that was far too big for her little soul. Kike Lomo's parents, Femi and Sade, had once been the perfect picture of young love. They met years ago at a vibrant youth church program where Femi was leading a lively worship session with his deep voice that could make even the heavens pause. Sade was sitting in the third row, clapping along, her eyes lit up by Femi's energy. After the church program, sparks flew quickly, and it wasn't long before the church bell rang also for their own wedding. Soon after, they welcomed Kike Lomo, their miracle baby, who filled their lives with so much sunshine. Femi worked as a sales manager in a bustling electronics store, a job that required charm and persuasive skills, both of which he had in abundance. But life has a way of shifting when you least expected it. One sunny Monday, Femi came home with an expression that Sade had never seen before, one of a defeated attitude and weighed down spirits. He had just lost his job. The electronics store had downsized, and Femi's position was no longer necessary. This came at a very bad time because Kike's mother a month ago had also lost her job as a result of her company also downsizing. As Femi broke the news to his wife and Kike, his voice cracked, but he tried to smile. "We will get through this," he whispered. "We will get through this." As the weeks went by, Femi tried to get another job, but he wasn't qualified for most of the vacancies he saw. Sade, on the other hand, quickly stepped in. She started multiple businesses, which to the glory of God picked up. She started running a meat-sharing business and becoming a personal shopper for busy wives and moms during the week, while cooking in bulk for women who requested for her services on weekends. Sade became the backbone of their family, carrying their financial burdens on her slender but steady shoulders. And even though the weight was heavy, she never let it show to Femi. Her multiple businesses made her leave home very early in the morning and come back home late at night. After all, there were bills to pay, house rent, feeding expenses, clothes, Kike Lomo's school fees, and other day-to-day bills. But as Sade fought to keep her family afloat, Femi seemed to sink deeper into the evil acts he does with their daughter. Whenever Sade left for her business, their small apartment became a space filled with heavy silence and unspoken pain. Kike Lomo, a few minutes after she got back from school, would see her father going into the bedroom, after which he would lay down on the bed and call out to her to come. His eyes would show his evil hunger and how he couldn't wait to devour her. Kike didn't fully understand what he did, but she felt every bit of the pain inflicted upon her. Sometimes, as he put his heavy weight on her, she would just lay under him and cry, her small sobs mirroring his larger moans, a tiny frame shuddering under emotions she was too young to fully grasp. "Why are you doing this to me, Daddy?" she would ask, her voice shaking. But Femi could never bring himself to answer her. Instead, he would cover her mouth and tell her to think about school, and that he would buy her ice cream later to ease her pain. The house felt like a theater of emotions whenever Shade was away, as their modest home echoed with Kike's soft cries and sorrow. But one thing about intelligent Kike was that, even though she didn't fully understand what her father did to her, she knew that whatever he did was so wrong. She knew she had to speak up, even if it meant facing her deepest fears, which was nobody believing her. So one evening, after another heavy episode of watching her father come to her to touch his something and watch him as he enjoyed it, she gathered the courage to tell her mother what was happening. With her heart pounding, Kike waited until her mother came home, exhausted and worn out, but Kike couldn't wait any longer. Mommy, Daddy tells me to touch him when you are not home. He lies on the bed and..." Before she could finish, Shade's eyes flared with disbelief and anger. "Kike, stop saying bad things about your father," she snapped, her voice louder than the evening news playing in the background. And without listening any further, she grabbed a phone USB cord and beat Kike, scolding her for learning bad things at school, from her friends and from their neighborhood. Kike felt bad and ran to her room in tears and fear. Her mother's dismissal cut deep, but what stung her even more was her father's warning. "Don't tell anyone what happened here, Kike. No one will ever believe you. It's our secret." Her father had repeated the warning so many times. Kike remembered how her father echoed those warnings to her. She remembered how he leaned down with his solemn eyes and whispered those words to her. Then he would draw her closer and say, "Kike Lomo, I am only sad and bored. Moreover, your mother has no time for me. When you grow up, you will understand what loneliness is." The next day, after her mother had gone for her business, Kike Lomo's father confronted her. His voice was sharp like shattered glass as he scolded her for telling her mother. "Why would you do that, Kike? You think your mother would believe you? I told you no one will believe you. I am your father, Kike Lomo, so no one will ever believe you. Please, Kike, don't ever tell anyone again. You know your mother has no time for me and you. It's just us, you and me, Kike. We have to take care of each other." Kike Lomo's eyes filled with tears, but he drew her into a hug, squeezing her so tight. "I promise," he whispered, "I will make it better. I will buy you all the ice cream that you want. And next time, I will make sure your mother never scolds you again. Not as long as I am around." He then pulled back and looked into Kike's eyes, smiling as if that promise alone could fix the damage he was doing to her. However, the pain Kike Lomo was feeling was too much and it showed. Her once excellent school performance began to go down. She would sit in class, but her eyes were distant, and her mind had drifted away from the lessons she used to love. Her teacher, Mrs. Olamide, a compassionate woman with eyes that never missed a thing, noticed the change. She asked Kike Lomo to stay behind after class one day. "Kike Lomo, is something troubling you?" she asked gently in a soft voice. Tears welled up in Kike Lomo's eyes, but she hesitated. The words felt too heavy, too tangled in fear. "I don't know, ma," Kike whispered, but her expression said everything she couldn't. Mrs. Olamide didn't give up because of this. She knew that something was wrong. "Tell me, Kike, what is the problem?" "My daddy used to ask me to touch his something. He would lay on the bed and bring it out from his trousers, and then he would put my hand on it. Sometimes he would tell me to lick it like ice cream, and sometimes he would use it to rub my bum bum. I don't always want to go on, ma, because of this, because it is always painful, and I've told him to stop, but he doesn't want to stop." Mrs. Olamide was livid. She could not believe what her ears had just heard. She immediately called Kike Lomo's mother the following day and expressed her concern. "Madam, Kike Lomo is struggling. She is not herself in class. She said her daddy used to touch her and ask her to touch him. But instead of listening, Kike's mother reacted with rage. "Why are you meddling in my family's affairs?" she snapped, her voice rising in frustration. "Oh my God! Kike Lomo is lying to ruin my marriage. Kike!" she thundered as Mrs. Olamide looked at her with shock. When both Kike and Shade got home that day, she beat Kike again, leaving Kike more hopeless and alone than ever. The next day at school, Mrs. Olamide saw Kike's body covered with bruises and she was very furious. This made her more determined to help Kike no matter what, so she decided to come up with a plan. The next day, she pulled Kike Lomo aside and asked, "Kike, when does your father ask you to touch him?" Kike proceeded to explain that it was usually when her mother went out to work and after she got back from school. So, armed with that knowledge, Mrs. Olamide made a bold decision. 1 week later, in the afternoon, she accompanied Kike home under the pretense of wanting to visit a friend who lives on the same street as Kike. She then gently asked to use the restroom that she was seriously purging. Once she was inside Kike Lomo's home, she waited in the restroom until Kike told her her father had gone outside to buy her some soft drinks. Then she quietly sneaked into Kike's room and planted a small camera in a corner on the shelf. With a whispered prayer for Kike's safety and that Kike Lomo's father shouldn't see the camera, she left. A few minutes after she left, Kike's father made sure that Mrs. Olamide had gone far. Then he began his usual petting and cuddling. He pulled Kike Lomo to the bed and told her to put her mouth on a something, after which he undressed her and proceeded to molest her again. The next day at school, when Mrs. Olamide reviewed the footage, she was livid and disgusted. She had told Kike to carefully put the camera in her bag after her father had checked her bag to make sure that nothing was forgotten for school. So without wasting much time, she called Kike Lomo's mother, who was devastated when she learnt the truth. She immediately alerted the authorities, and soon The police arrived at Kike Lomo's home and arrested her father. Shade broke down as the old drama played out, her cries echoing in the small living room where she had once ignored Kike Lomo's words. Grief and regret overwhelmed her as she realized the pain her daughter had suffered, a pain she had dismissed with a pinch of salt. Kike Lomo's father, a few months later, was sentenced to prison. The day he was taken away, Shade clung to Kike, tears streaming down her face. "I am so sorry, my little child, my angel," she wept. "I should have believed you. I should have been there. I am so sorry. Please find it in your heart to forgive me." Kike's teacher, Mrs. Olamide, stood nearby, happy that she had fought for Kike and liberated another girl child from molestation. She had seen and heard too many as a teacher to just watch and fold her arms. Shade hugged Mrs. Olamide tightly, gratitude spilling from her heart. "Thank you for saving my daughter," she whispered. "I am so sorry I did not believe you and Kike. See, Femi was a chorister and was very religious when we dated, so it was hard to believe. I am so sorry again. Please forgive me." In the days that followed, Kike Lomo's mother, who had always seemed preoccupied and distant, began making more time for her. She started showing up at Kike's room in the evenings and asking if she wanted to talk. Sometimes they would sit on Kike's bed and her mother would braid her hair while they shared stories about their day. Other times, they would take walks in the small garden where Kike's mother would point out the names of flowers and teach her how to care for the plants. These moments, though simple, felt like small treasures Kike had been craving for years. Her mother also created room for real heart-to-heart conversations. One evening, after Kike hesitated over her words, her mother put a hand on her shoulder and said, "You can tell me anything, Kike Lomo, my love. I am here for you." It felt foreign yet comforting, and Kike Lomo's heart felt safe. Their bond became inseparable, and Kike Lomo's mother never prioritized her business over her daughter again. The moral of Kike's story is one every parent should take to heart. Always be close to your children, be it your boy child or your girl child. Listen when they speak and believe them when they confide in you. Also, never be too quick to judge them. In the rush of life, please make time for your children, because your presence and trust can be the shield that protects them from the harm of the society. Thank you for joining me on this story once again. I appreciate your attentive ears. I would love to know what lesson you picked from this story. Please share them in the comment section, and please support us by giving this video a thumbs up, liking and sharing. Thank you.